Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be fixing the diesel leak that's coming from in here. There is an O-ring in there and it needs changing. And before I did YouTube, I changed the seals in the two top control arms, which are the one for the stop engine and the accelerator. At the same time, I changed the gasket under here. And to get this off, I need to take that bolt out, take the bolt out from underneath. There's a bolt around the back, same location as this, but around the back. And there is also a control arm that goes down inside that is under here. And obviously I need to take the lines off. Hopefully taking this off, that gasket doesn't rip, because if it does, I have to order a new one. When I changed the O-rings in the top and this gasket here, it came out of this kit. I'll put the part number in the description below. But because it came out of this kit, that gasket is not in this kit anymore. But the O-ring I need for in here is. So let's get started. Before bringing it into the shed, it was run out of diesel, but there will be some diesel left in it. I've got a drip tray underneath. Because that bolt goes up inside the section we need to take out, I only need to take the bolt out. If this doesn't come out, it should be fine just to sit there. This nut has been a bit butchered before. I've never undone it, but I can't seem to get it to undo now. I'm going to have to file the burrs off and use the brake line tool. With the burrs there, I can't get it on. Just using a file to take the burr off each side. Now I've given that file. That now goes on because all the burrs are gone. Try and blow them metal shavings away. Even with that, it's slipping. It is extremely tight. Well, I can't get it off from there. I'll have to take that one off from back at the filter. So this one here comes back to here on the filter. Make sure you get your seals for that. pair off. I can't undo the back one until I get this out of the way. It's not quite enough room. There's a little nut and a washer. Now the hole in this plate, or both of these plates, is elongated, so you can't put them on the wrong way around. So if you can't undo it from here, you might be able to get it from up there. Now these two nuts normally have a piece of wire across them like this, but because I've already taken it off, the wire's not there anymore. You do get wire in the kit if you want to put wire back on. Two of them. Underneath this bit there are some springs and pins. You need to pay attention where they are. Whether you get your phone, a camera, take photos, write it down, draw a diagram, whatever. See if I can get these seals off the top. Now I've got my phone ready. I might need to take that front line off. It was so long ago I don't remember if I took that off last time. And I didn't do any video on it, so I can't check. Well, that's great. That one doesn't want to come undone either. So in this plate here, there's 3 holes. It's in the middle hole on this one. They're all different. And where the spring connects onto at the other end, there's normally 3 holes as well. This one doesn't seem to have any. When I did this before, I have to have been able to get that off, because there's no way I could have changed that gasket without getting that line there off. That there, don't know if you can see it, give it some extra light, just in there. You need to lift that up. Because that goes down inside this. So without lifting that up, you can't move that back. Now I hope that I can get that back line off so I can get to the bolt that's on the opposite side to this one. Lift this up. Okay, that's out of its hole, but only just. I've got a bolt there and a bolt down the back. So this one's a bleeder bolt, so is that one. I only need to undo this one. Don't need to undo the top one until we're bleeding. By bleeding it, I mean getting the air bubbles out of the fuel line. So that's long enough that it goes in to that. Now there's a bolt around the back. Same position as this, but around the back. Really awkward to get to this bolt. So it looks like to get to that bolt I'm going to have to take it out after all, which is what I was trying to avoid. Because I can't get the front fuel line off, I'm going to have to take it off from the filter. But before I do any of that, I want to scribe a little mark on here so I can mark where the timing is sitting. Just on there, there's a line, and I want to carry that line across onto the injector pump. Now to do this part, you can always use a permanent marker. A pencil might be too easy to wipe off. Screwdriver, center punch, center punch with a hammer, put a dot there. Either way, that's a decent mark. Now there's 3 bolts, 2 are easy to get to, but the other one is right down the back there. Now I don't know if this is normal or not, but there is an Allen key bolt down the back. Because the long extension doesn't fit onto the Allen key bit, I have to use an adapter. It's a bit tight down there. See if I can position the camera better so you can see where I am. Just down in there. You see the movement. Just need to get that into the bolt. Oh, okay. That's loose. That's not ideal. There's that bolt. These other two are 1/2 inch. And also not tight. Now I have to take the other fuel line off of the filter. There's that. There's the other washer. Make sure you get both the seals for that. That's if you have to undo it from this section anyway. Your one might not be stuck there and there, so you didn't have to undo down there. These are a 1/2 inch. There's that one. I may as well give it a punch over here as well. There is a mark there already. Just to make sure I don't lose the timing. There's that bolt. That has been off before, not by me, because that gasket wasn't stuck on there. To leave half or some of the gasket behind, it would have had to been stuck on there a lot more than it was. That's the bolt that I couldn't get to. Just in there. Yep, that got it. Just in there is that valve. Need to make sure that's up high enough that it's not still down into it. There's that bottom piece. There we go. That O-ring there is the one that's leaking. Just here. It's very flat. So you need to take this one off, put the new one on. Now this kit has two O-rings of similar size. That one's slightly smaller, but it's thicker. It's not that one. The one you need is a slightly larger diameter, but it's only thin, where that one's thick. Take the old one off. And don't worry about which way this goes back on, because it only goes on one way. There's a different teeth pattern there in the spine. That's the old one. I'll give that a clean up. Now put the new one on. Now the new one doesn't sit flush, protrudes a little bit. That's what gives you that seal. Now the way this goes back on, you've got the small hole, the bleeder, and that back bolt. big one at the bottom. And that one at the back. So the small hole has no thread in it. That's to the top. Now to get it back together, I'm going to have to take the back plate off so I can hold it, stop it from rotating, while I rotate that to line up the splines. Like that. Now this has a little stud piece there, slots into that hole. That piece there goes into that hole, or it won't line up properly. So now, as you can see, when I rotate this side, that side will rotate. Careful, they can fall out. I don't need to take them out, but if they fall out, they're both the same part, so it doesn't matter which one goes in first. But that's just to stop that from rotating while I line them splines up. Make sure I get it around the right way. The big hole lined up at the bottom. Get that spline reasonably close to the other spline. Now as I rotate that, so that's not turning. I need to make sure them splines are lined up properly. Now if they're lined up properly, give this a bit of a twist and it should slide in. Just like that. The whole time being careful not to have the top come off, or you have to get that spring back into the right holes. So now that's all the way in. I can rotate it to line the holes up. And make sure you don't lose this piece here. This is your stop engine lever. That needs to line up with the shaft here, has a little bump that slots into there. So when you pull the stop engine, the engine stops, which pushes against the shaft that had to be lifted up to get this out. And that shaft is just there. All these holes should be lined up enough to get this back bolt in. Not quite. You don't want to force it. If you're forcing it, it's not lined up. Feels like it's in just a little bit too far. Because that new seal's got such a good hold on it, I need a bit of leverage. Gone too far now. Still in a little bit too far. And of course the GoPro overheated and turned off. So I've had to wait a little while for it to cool down. So that bolt's in now. Back it off a little bit. I need to get this back into its hole. Okay, that's back into place. Now I need to line that piece up with the little nodule on the arm here. Just like that. Now that's back in place. Put these little seals on. And the acorn nuts, get back on top of that. Bleeder bolt. Put that back on. And its bolt. Everything is finger tight. Putting the back on, making sure to line up the back of it. If you want to change the seal in there, you can, or you've got that off. But because it's on the back and it's not leaking at the moment, it's easy to take off. So I'll do it if I ever have a problem with it. Otherwise I'll just save that seal. This is a dust washer. It's just a little dust cap. comes off of there. Just while I've been turning it upside down and rolling it round. Before reinstalling, I'm going to have to tighten that bolt at the very least, because I can't get to it once it's in. That's tight. Now it's time to start putting it back on the tractor. And just like the spline that was inside here, this spline has that different tooth. Might have been an idea to leave that back plate off until getting that spline lined up. Just got back over to the tractor and realised I haven't put these on because that back one's hard to get to. So at the very least put that on before putting it back on the tractor. Now they're all on, I'll tighten them up. Now to get this spline to line up with the spline in there, I've rotated the splines so they're in around the same position as in the tractor. Now hopefully this goes in first attempt. Now it's held in place by that bolt. I'll put the bolt in the bottom. And this is the bolt for the back. Hard to get to one because it's an Allen key. Clean all that rubbish out of there so I can get the Allen key into there properly. See if I can work it through with it on the end. So apparently not. With the top on, I've got no room to slide this through, it's too fat. Such a little space that I need to put it. So I'll put the extension in first, see if I can get that onto the end of it. It's on the end. Now I have to get the bolt in. The bolt's in its hole. Not all the way in the hole yet. Oh, there it goes. Now it's in the hole. Should be able to get that Allen key in. And do that bolt up. At this point, all three bolts are still loose. I have to make sure all the marks are lined up. That looks pretty good there. It's about as tight as I'm going to get that. Now I'll try this Allen key one again, see if I can get it any tighter with the other two already tightened up. It's about as tight as that's going to be. back in. Okay, that's on. It's the washer and the nut. Now this doesn't have to be very tight. The nut and the washer. And that doesn't have to be crazy tight either. Tighten up this bottom one. Put all the lines back on. Now because I didn't move any of these lines, they're all in the same place as they were when I disconnected them. all tight. Now I have to connect up the lines back to the filter. Make sure you put one of these gasket washers on either side, so one stays on there and the other one goes on the other side after you put the bolt through. I'll have to move the camera to get this other one in. They were a lot easier to put in and do up once I got the camera out of the way. The two nuts on top, they're still only finger tight. And these only have to be tight enough so it doesn't leak from here. That'll do them. I thought I'd tightened that one, but obviously I hadn't. It's tight now. Now all I have to do is put some diesel in it and bleed all the bubbles out. To get the air out of the lines, up here there's a couple of bolts on top of the first filter. There's one bolt on top of the other fuel filter there. So I will loosen off that one and the two under here. Both the bolts here are a 1/2 inch. You don't have to take them out all the way. A couple of turns is enough. And this other one is a 3/4. Couple of turns on that one. Make sure you have a drip tray or something underneath, because diesel will come out of them bolts. Now to pump the diesel through. You crank on the lifter pump. Now where the engine is sitting, it only gives me that much pump. So making sure the tractor's in neutral. Turn the engine over a little bit. Until you get a full pump. That's not quite a full pump. It is pretty close. You can go with that if you want. That'll be the best I'm going to get. You need to keep pumping this until you get all the air bubbles out of the first two bolts. The first two bolts being these ones here. I will go back over to the other side and keep pumping the lever on the pump. Obviously, before starting this, make sure there's diesel in it, because generally if you're doing this, you've run it out of diesel. Pump it a couple of times, come around, have a look. I can still see bubbles coming out of there. It looks like the first one has no more bubbles coming out of it, so I'll tighten that. And these don't have to be really tight. That one's still bubbling, this one started bubbling. I just made that one finger tight. At the moment this one is not bubbling. One back there still is. But because that's the first filter, bubbles might still come through. Once that one stops bubbling, I'll tighten that one, loosen that one back off to make sure there's no air trapped in there. Now that one's looking pretty good. Tighten that one. Loosen that one back off. Now I can't see any bubbles coming out of that one. So I'll tighten this one. Again, that one doesn't have to be super tight either. Now I have to get the air out of the injector pump. The bleeder bolts on the injector pump are there and there. And with these ones, you generally have to hold the bolt behind, which is a 7/16, and then it's a 5/16 on the end. Just like that. I've got the camera to the side because these will squirt. If you like, you can take these ones all the way out. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There is a flat spot just there to let the air pass. You see it glistening just there. Obviously if you pull the bolt all the way out, the air will come out quicker. Tighten that one back up. Now the top one is only a couple of threads in, and I put the flat spot at the top, so you should be able to see that one bubble. That might be all the air out of that. Yep, that's all the air out of that. And I'll tighten that one. Now I'll pull the camera back, see if I got it first try. Sometimes you have to loosen off the top one again. There may be some air still trapped in there. If it starts, there was no air trapped. Give it some throttle. About half throttle. There we go. Have to clean up the mess. There you go. Should be right to go again. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.